Hello, it's the beginning of April and it's such a gorgeous day today that I thought I'd give you a little tour of my cutting garden and show you what I'm working on. So come with me. I've got 6 beds. I put another one in. So I've got 3 that are 4 feet wide, 1 that is 3 feet wide and 2 that are 2 feet wide. And this is bulbs and biennials mostly. I've got, as you can see, my beautiful daffodils are coming through. And I've also got alliums on the way. I've got some sweet rocket, Hesperus. And I've got a really big bed of sweet williams because they're third year I suppose, because they're kind of biennial cross perennial. But I didn't get a great showing from them last year, so I'm hoping for lots more flowers this year. And it's really packed, but I did manage what I did last year, because I'm always trying to get as many flowers in as possible. So last year I grew some sunflowers on, and then once the daffodils were dying down I put them in between, and that worked really well. So I'm always trying to, it's a bit like covers in a restaurant, I'm always trying to turn tables. As soon as one crop is going over I'm trying to fit another one in. So that's, as I said, that's biennials and bulbs. Now in this bed, which I've got some cool annuals. So a lot of annuals, if they're hardy, you can sow them in the autumn and they get a good head start because they're big enough to survive the winter. At least that's the theory. Because we had some really cold spells, I did lose some of mine and I've had to resow them. But the corn cockles did really well, and I've got some Dorcas coming through and some Nigella. This, excitingly, is my Cerinthe, and if you've been following me along, you'll know that I've been trying to get those in time for the tulips. Well, good news and bad news. Well, kind of bad news and then not so bad news. The not so bad news is, well, they're coming on. I don't think they're going to be big enough in time for my tulips. But I've had, some of you might know, I've had a little bit of a disaster with my cutting patch tulips. I might show you a photograph. It's pretty sad, but I had 150 bulbs and they've nearly all gone, and it's been rodents. And at one point I realised what was going on and I put mesh down, but that didn't stop because obviously they can tunnel underneath. I have lots of tulips in the rest of the garden that's supposed to be for decoration, but I might pick 1 or 2 of those. So although the Cerinthe isn't quite ready, neither are the tulips. So perhaps by the time I've got more flowers, it's still a gorgeous foliage plant, so I can put that with the other things. And if I do need any greenery to go with the daffodils, I've got Euphorbia oblongata, which is perennial for me in this garden, and it's fantastic. You can just keep cropping it and cropping it. And in this bed, I've got room. I've got some more layer to go in, or I might sow some poppies, and I might do it in this area here. Just to point out, if you notice that I've got these, they're called pigtail spikes. I think it's such a lovely name. You can see why. And this is how I use my staking. I have this metal mesh that's a builder's mesh. And I like this one because it goes nice and rusty. I always like the colour of rust in the garden. I think it's quite kind of sympathetic to the plants. And what's good about these, some people do it with wooden posts and put nails in, but then you have to have the nails at exactly the right place. And you have to decide in advance what height you're going to be. Because these are pushed in, although I tend to have them more or less at the same height, I could change it if I wanted to. I could bring those up or push them in a bit. So one thing I learnt from last year, I'm trying to get similar height plants all in the same bed together, because I didn't do that so much last year. It was okay, but if it's not so good, it's fine for the taller plants, but if you're trying to reach under to pick shorter things, it's not quite so easy. But I'll show you the mesh. I can't quite remember now what, but I've got two smaller bits, so it's very easy. Because it just hooks onto. Oh, if I get it the right way around, it'll be easy. It just hooks onto there, and there you go. And I prefer it to string or mesh just because it's that little bit more rigid, and I actually think it looks nicer. Because my cutting garden is really on show, because it's the first people, my gate's over there, it's all down there, it's the first bit of the garden people see, so I'm always conscious to try and keep it sort of looking attractive as well, and I think that works really well. So corn cockles coming on. I've got two. Last year I just grew the purple ones. This year I've got the sort of blushy ones as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing those. And they took a while to flower, but they look so gorgeous when they're sort of swaying around in the wind, so looking forward to those. Here I've got a few more of my cool annuals, winter grown. So I've got snapdragons that I start off in the autumn, and I only put these out a few days ago. Oh, that one looks a little bit. I'll put a splint in there. These are the variety Madam Butterfly. I haven't grown that before, but it's a kind of florist variety. And I've gone for a mixed colour because I'm just interested to see what the colours look like. I've got a few more to go in, and I've got one or two other varieties as well. Potomac lavender's a lovely one. That's ready to go in. And I've got some scabious, not as many as I'd have liked, but they get to be good sized plants, and I've sown some more. These are the Black Cat variety. Scabious Black Cat, which is that lovely blackcurranty dark colour. And I've also got some Rudbeckia. I haven't decided whether I'm going to. What I can use these beds for, which is brilliant, is almost like a nursery bed for other areas in the garden. So things that I've grown, these Rudbeckia, I haven't decided whether I want them in the borders or whether I want to crop form them. These are just some of them. It's a variety called Goldilocks, which does look lovely, and they are good sized plants. I'm really pleased with that. I was hoping that my Sahara in the bed over there might survive the winter, but I'm not sure. That's why I'm hedging my bets. I don't know whether I'll keep them here or I'll put them in the border. And the same with these Achillea. I don't know if you can see, they're quite small. These I grew quite a lot last year, the Colorado mix in pale colours, and they were pretty, but I don't know whether I just didn't get a good enough mixture. I thought they were a little bit. You can be too pastel, can't you? They're very pale, so this is a red mixture, so to be a good contrast and will look good with the richer colours. And again, I might not keep those there. I might put them in the borders, but I've put them here so they can carry on growing till I decide where they're going to go. So I'm very lucky like that I've got this space that I can grow things on for the rest of the garden. And then this bed, it's the same length, 8 feet, but it's only 3 feet wide, just because that was the best configuration to fit in my space. And again, I've got a mixture here. This is Aquilegia green apples. I've been trying to grow it as a biennial. I read that you can do that and you get the best flowers, but it's taken, this is its 3rd year, and it wasn't big enough, so I hope I'm going to get some good flowers off it. Plus I've got some self-seeded Nigella, and I've moved some of those around. At this end I've got some Dorcas, Dara, the pinky red cow parsley. I've also got some Reseda, which I haven't grown before. I've forgotten what its common name is, but that's supposed to make really interesting seed heads and a good filler plant. Oh, and I've completely forgotten what these are. I'll put it in the description if I remember. And then I've got some poppies. I don't know if they're coming up yet. Maybe. I never have much luck with poppies. I know you can't use them as a cut flower very easily, but obviously you can use the seed heads. But I know if you just scatter them and forget about them, they'll just pop up all over the place. But trying to grow them in a specific place, I find that quite tricky. So if anybody's got any tips, I'd love to hear. I've tried doing it winter sowing, which works so well for a lot of things, where you then clump them. So because they're tiny, you can't really put them in separately. And I've been moderately successful, but not really brilliant. And this is my sweet pea frame that I put in last year, and I'm just about to put the string round. I really like growing it like that. It's a bit of extra work as you're putting it in, but then you don't have to tie anything in. You just wind the sweet peas round the string, and I just really liked it. But last year I grew them on both sides of the frame, and I had too many. You might think you can't have too many sweet peas, but it was really hard to keep up with all the deadheading, which obviously you have to do with sweet peas. Also, the ones on this side didn't grow quite so well because of the shade from here, which actually needs a trim a bit. So I've decided just to grow them on this side. I've already got them in. I've got some lovely plants, again autumn sown, and I've got the other things I've got in here are some feverfew. I grew one that I absolutely fell in love with called Selma Star. They're just so sweet, they're like little cartwheels. Some of those are that variety and some are just the regular one, but again they're a lovely filler flower. And as you can see, I put a lot more daffodils as well, and this variety is early cheer, and I've already started picking from that. It has the most delicious scent. It's one of my favourites. And I think this one is Replete. It's one of the sort of fancy double ones, which I love using. They're sort of, people tend to think of daffodils as just the yellow ones, but there's so many different varieties. I've got about 6 different ones over there, but I just concentrated on the 2 that I liked the most and I thought looked the best in bouquets and lasted well in the vase. So I think now I'm going to do a bit of, I might start doing the stringing, and I might do a bit of sowing and a bit of planting. So the cutting garden is right at the front, garage is down the bottom, greenhouse is over there, summer house is there. Oh, what's this? It's a Wriggly Piggly girl. Hello Wriggly Piggly girl. This is Ellie, who's a bit of a show off.